Here lies the soft soil formerly known as sun, pine box formerly known as boy, formerly known as beautiful. We celebrate the passing of an existential plague. We are complicit in forgetting him, sugaring his eulogy with laughter. We should remember him, his best intentions, his worst intentions, those secret graveyards of cigarettes and rum, carousels of guilt and glory now spun into this casket. Do you remember his abacus? How he counted on luck to carry him into his father's shoes. England is swallowing more than it can chew. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Saili. I am a Zambian-born writer and performer. I love opening up and sharing with a poem. It helps me get all my nervous energy out. But yeah, you know what? I'm in safe hands. You're such a beautiful audience. I can't see you. But I'm 100% sure that's true, right? Yeah. So that first poem is from a project that I'm working on called At My Wake. I'm very fascinated about stories, myth, and legends. And I thought there was something very important or special about being able to hold sort of like a ceremony to initiate the passing of one chapter into the other. I mentioned I'm Zambian born, and in my culture there's different ceremonies and rituals to initiate a child from that state of like child psychology into adult psychology. And the two cultures are very different. And like for all the blessings that this culture has been able to give me, I feel like I've been able to sneak my childhood psychology past where it's useful. And thank you. I felt in the project I'm trying to sort of unpick aspects of how I see the world. And art's always been a great way to do that. And some of the things that I've been trying to investigate and trying to grow up, which is essentially what I'm trying to do. Like my parents have been at me for years about growing up. So like art is my way of trying to do that. And discipline is something that I struggle with. And I've never been one for sport, one for athleticism. But growing up, I've been able to sort of like wrestle with different activities, and it's been very interesting for me, especially the avenues I've explored, because it's been able to help me channel like frustrations and aggressions in a very different way. And physicality is a very obvious way to sort of like channel aggression or frustrations, but in looking back at my life, one of the best ways that I've been able to sort of express frustrations and work through things that are playing on me are my relationships in life. Now, when I came to England, I went to an all-boys school. And it was in Bath, which is a stone's throw from here, and with a very different demographic build-up to the city that I grew up in. And that introduced a different obstacle. So my best friend through secondary school is from Zimbabwe. Now, contrary to popular belief or rumors that my friends had in school, we did not know each other back home. We just get on really well. And so there were conversations or things that I could say to him that I couldn't say in school because our frustrations were weaponized in a very different way. And I think in all the ways that we celebrate our connections in life, family are almost like, it's an obvious answer. These are people that you were born into and you share your life with, but then through life we get to acquire family. And he was a brother that I earned through secondary school. And I felt like it was important to write this poem to celebrate that. So this poem is called I Love My Brother. And it goes exactly like this. I found my brother in the back row of a crowded classroom. We sat through English together, scribbling make-believe between the margins, learning to laugh at nonsense. I love my brother. I trust my brother to speak his heart despite the noise. He grew up speaking his mother tongue, assimilation, a second language, English, a gesture we would wave out of windows, a bleached cloud, a white rag between our teeth as the teacher talked. Our discontentment was an extracurricular activity. The miseducation of kings began in a small town governed by peculiarity. Learning to find our way through the dark, we kept our kerosene lamps behind our backs, following smoke puppets into midnight where we found clarity in matchsticks, where pantheons blurred. As Prometheus and the old gods talked us down, it's hard to show frustration when you are squeezed into a box. Boy, black. No, we don't talk like that around here. We'd walk into tinder-filled buildings with worn-down smiles, tongues beaten smooth by the jury. A procession of fearmongers who are weighted by the gavel is why I only trust my brother. I trust my brother. I trust my brother to speak his heart despite the rage. Cages don't follow us into the fields we burn to make room for expression. We earned the right to grieve, built brotherhood on the bones we didn't spit into the mob, tucking gristle behind our teeth, tongues twisting into complicity, learning, looking, searching for the word for sanctuary. And the centuries haven't dimmed the chains that charge our vigor with misdemeanor and violence. I have watched him burn down to the hilt, watched him turn to ash as another and another and another cold word curdles the dimples in his cheek, emancipated flame, choking on pleasantries. Anger is the ritual we hide. Brotherhood eases the lonely, so we only burn in quiet, our unholy communion, after the city slips into a nightmare. Thank you. Thank you. So it was really refreshing to be able to share that piece. And I found art late in life. I didn't think that my voice, my narrative, or my face belonged in these places. And because I was really bad academically, it took me 2 attempts to get my English GCSE, so it's a blessing to be in this space. It also means that 80% of the world I walk through doesn't care about poetry. So I shared this piece with my friend. I was like, you know what? I celebrated our friendship. And his quote was like, Saili, you don't cater to the lowest common denominator, do you? Which was, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But I appreciate that. Because art's always been a way for me to articulate things. Music was my favorite way to sort of express myself. And through music, I was able to, I don't have to pay a studio engineer to be on the stage, and I could sort of express my written language with an audience, and there's something special about this feedback we get live in space. And a disclaimer, we're always on the brink of a tangent, because I don't think like this. I'm kind of confetti, but I love that. And in taking sort of like a risk to pursue art as a means of expressing myself, it like turned something on upstairs, and I was reading a lot and I was hungry to learn. But a realization within the last few years, it's not how many books you read, or it's sort of like what you can take away from the small things that you do. It's not the experiences you have, it's what you can kind of like siphon from that. And then I realized that the things that I'm doing on a regular basis, where I come from, are a rich source of conversations, questions, and maybe answers to play with. And a good example of that is, I come from a culture that has a rich oral tradition. And my mom used to sing this song that annoyed the hell out of me. She would always sing it around the house. But as I've grown up, I've sort of like taken that song and broken it up into pieces and really appreciating it. And are there any lovers of music in the room? I'm about to disappoint you, because I'm going to try and sing the song that my mom always loved to sing. And I'm not going to gamble and assume anyone can speak Bemba in the room. And it also means that you can't correct my bad Bemba. So it's a win-win situation. But I'll translate it after. So the song is Vamayo na batata Chinshi mutini nengwena Vamayo na batata Chinshi mutini nengwena Chinamai chabulensengo pakwenda chileinanga Chinamai chabulensengo pakwenda chileinanga Oh hey. Oh hey. And that song essentially is that both my mother and father are from fishing people. And the song is a child speaking to the parents saying, why are you afraid of the crocodile? It sort of like drags itself when it walks. It has no horns. What's there to be afraid of? But we all know there's a lot to be afraid of the crocodile. But it was something about something that is a known danger, an inevitable threat, and sort of like peeling back all the malice from it so you can go about your day to day. And I sort of try to, sort of borrow from places that I've been to try and do those things. I visited my home country in 2015. So I was 13 when I left home back in 2000 and, I won't let you do the math. And it was a while before I went back home. And there was this moment where my grandmother, who is no longer with us, was talking to myself, my mom, dad, my siblings. And my younger brothers don't have the same grasp on our language as we do. And that moment felt heavy for a lot of reasons. And coming back to England, feeling that distance between my brothers and our culture, me and my culture, really opened up a line of questioning for myself and my work. And this will be my last piece that I'm going to share with you. And it's based on that sort of interaction. The piece is called Prodigal Child. I've been Saili Katebe. I write under the pen name The Blissful Nomad. And this will be my final piece. And I'm going to start it off with a song. And it's a song we used to sing at sports day. Not that I was doing any sports. It was sort of, everyone was chanting, it's like, this person sent us, go and get the prize. And I always feel, because my parents had made these big sacrifices for us to be here, they almost sent us across, and there was almost that immigrant, subtle pressure that there's this new opportunity, bring home the prize. And it was interesting going back home and not having a trophy or something grand to hand back to my grandmother in that moment. Vambuya is grandmother in our language. And Ni Vambuya eva twebele. Ni Vambuya eva twebele. Ukomre amweba na bandi mukale te chikombe. Ukomre amweba na bandi mukale te chikombe. A prodigal child returns, riding in on his chariot, hat in his hand on his heart, trying to bury it, concealing bleeding lungs. Regretting leaving young, if home is where the heart belongs, he wonders why he'd ever run. But I've been gone too long. Home is a soured sentiment. My tongue curls at the curdled morsels of home that leave my lips. This fermenting familiarity wreaks havoc on my wit, my compass twists, churning chaos into the core of this wayfarer's soul. You see, she may hug me like I never left, but what's left of our conversations begs questions of culture and kinship. My grandmother does not speak English. and I've lost the keys to our conversations. We navigate through our memories with caution, knowing there's a casualty waiting around every turn of phrase. She smiles. I smile. And the silence sings my shame. Dancing across the ivory tips of the elephant in the room, I've forgotten where I come from. I reach for the strongest branches in our family tree, hoping to see the seams in need of attention, hoping to be the thread that binds this tapestry of kings and queens buoyed in the sinews of our oral tradition. And I'm not alone in this. The diaspora are calling for home. We are forgotten seeds, caught falling from a tree, unshackled by the rainstorms, we'd suddenly flee. Manufacturing a genesis to jettison grief, ingesting debris, dressing the breeze in our recitatives. We are precipitations of old creations and new personas. Old theatrics just channeled into these new performers. We carry forward what older knowers were handing down, embellishing the dialectics of our fathers' crowns and Vashkulubali Impela Mano. My grandfather gave wisdom. I never knew it then, but I know it now. And I'll hold it proud as I speak my piece. I'll carry the souvenirs my abuelo thought to be precious. Diamonds cosified of a century's worth of pressure, surviving oppression, pressing his legend into my stencil from a lineage of lions, his lessons or my credentials. He offered the gold hidden in his soul. No rhythms from the old ways withered in his hold, so vivid in resolve, bold in his winning ways, showing me the roads that evolved to his glory days. And I've been tracing the constellations his conversations would conjure, glowing confirmations of all the moments he conquered, from praying for the rain to dancing with a hurricane and carrying that flame that colored my mother's name. There is history folded in my family's diction. History folded in my family's name. Only in appreciating the way the distance brought me closer to the truth could I read between those lines in my grandmother's smile. My grandfather smiled when he handed me the keys to our culture, knowing I could never stand alone, never be alone while the cannons of our continent still echo inside these bones. I will always be a banner of my beginnings, regardless of what land I live in. Thank you.